Okie doke, so we are back, and I'm going to be talking about the ghosts and hauntings that are supposedly riddling this entire location. Now, I want to put this into context in the fact that the park itself is closed most of the year. It's falling apart, like I said, and it's been abandoned for several years. So it's not safe for people just to venture in on their own because they don't want things to fall, they don't want people to get hurt. However, you should wait until the Halloween season, in which the park holds their own tour services, specifically for the history and ghosts, as well as, I believe, a haunted house, or if you want to get involved with some investigative group and get permission to go to the grounds. Stay safe. Understand that most of these claims come from either workers, people who have visited on these times, or paranormal groups. So don't get the idea that you can just visit this place after hearing this story. I don't want to be liable for that sort of stuff. So again, be smart, be safe, understand that this place is literally falling apart. So without a further ado, on that happy note, let's talk about the ghosts that if you do happen to visit in some capacity legally, you might happen to run across. So this, again, like I said, this place pretty much checks the box when it comes to creepy department and reported spiritual phenomena. Some of the general reports that are associated with the location and with the park itself is the eerie feeling and sensation of being watched by someone in the distance, as well as being followed along while you are visiting the park. In addition, people claim to have the sudden sort of panic attack, essentially, and becoming overwhelmed with this sort of feeling of dread and unease and just all these negative emotions that they were not experiencing a few seconds prior. People also feel the sensation of a disembodied hand resting upon their shoulders. People also report being pushed or tapped by someone that is not there. Like, they know for a fact that they are by themselves at that moment, and someone pushes them over. Objects within the park are also reported to move on their own, and oftentimes at night. Sightings of shadowy shapes seem to, again, plague the entire park, as oftentimes people see them, and this is terrifying, lurking among the rides. And all these rides, keep in mind, are abandoned, rusty, and falling apart. So the swing rides also creak back and forth when there is no wind or force applied to them. People often will hover their hands over top of the swing and actually notice it is moving. And orbs of light and other just weird phenomena will be seen throughout the entire park and surrounding areas. And this is the worst. I would hate this. I would leave immediately when I see this. Smaller shadows have been also reported, and people believe them to be the size of children. And these apparitions have been reported to run around the park. They are reported to duck behind the rides and run along through the overgrowth of the bushes and grass that surrounds it. So they are literally children-sized shadows that are ducking and weaving and hiding and running around you. Like, that is literally horror movie material. That is what is in horror movies. I don't want to see that. I don't want to go there and see that stuff. And that's not even the half of it. There's more. Native American spirits have also been reported to the location. Not surprising, because again, this is what claims to be a sacred burial ground. And a lot of them were also killed here unjustly. They were oftentimes seen in the dark, however. So these particular spirits, the Native American spirits, they're seen not so much up close to you. They are seen in the distance. They're seen in the darkness. And essentially what they're doing is they're just kind of watching. They're far away that you can, they can watch you, but they're close enough that you can actually notice them, and that is terrifying. I hate that. I hate that idea so much. Just seeing a bunch of Native American spirits looming in the darkness, just barely visible, and like knowing that they see you, oh god, I don't want to go to this place. I want to go to a lot of these places, but I don't want to go here. A bunch of disembodied sounds are also reported within the park itself, and again, these are terrible. This wonderful list, however, includes the following: children's laughter when no one else is around you and when no one else should be around you. Whispers that always sound as though they are from behind you. Shouting. Strange chanting. People believe this to be tied to the Native American spirits, as the sound of drums is also often reported. And good old screaming. Just plain out bloody murder screaming in an abandoned park in the woods at night. Photos of the park itself, in particular, like people taking photos of the rides and people taking photos of the actual park location, oftentimes will have the addition of shadowy figures and apparitions that are not there when the photo is taken. They only appear on the photo afterwards or on the printouts after the development. They're not there during the moment. They're not seen by anyone. They're only seen far prior, which is EVPs. If anyone who's not aware, if you're listening to paranormal stuff, you probably should be. But if you're new to this, EVPs stand for electronic voice phenomena, and essentially this is voices that are not heard by the ear but are picked up by digital recorders. And these are apparently pretty big here, and I say apparently because I can't gain access to them. They're oftentimes captured by paranormal groups, and I'll be talking about one in particular, the Mountaineer Ghost, which is a paranormal group. They investigated the location, and they got a few creepy noises. They knocked on the side of an abandoned trailer a few times while doing their recording and their investigation, and the sound of a man's voice was captured on one of their recorders saying, "Please leave." Another EVP was taken between the Ferris Wheel on the location and the swing ride in which the little girl was killed, and these were taken, by two friends that were there with the group. And one of the friends is heard saying "no" on the tape, it's him. And that's followed by some mumbling by the other person he's with that's a little further from the recorder. And then there is a very, very clear, high-pitched voice that is captured on the recorder that says, "Won't talk." Now, many people, because of where they are situated in the park, they believe that this is the voice of the little girl, potentially the one who was killed on the ride. At the exact same spot within the same group, another EVP was featured, with what people believe to be, again, another young girl saying either, "I want to swing," or "I'm on a swing," which is really sad if she's on it right now and she died on the swing. So I keep mentioning this swing ride. Again, we mentioned it in the background, and we mentioned it with a few times with the EVPs and stuff. There are a few very specific attractions and spots within the park itself that seem to be a bit more of like a hot spot when it comes to accounts and reports and specific spirits. And the swing ride is pretty much the number one when it comes to these hot spots. Again, people claim to see that the swings themselves are moving on their own. In some cases, people also report them twisting themselves up on the chains, which is not fun. I've never seen a swing ever do that unless someone is inside the swing. So, It is also noted that with you standing in close proximity to the ride, oftentimes people report the sensation of sudden coldness coming over them. The spirit of a girl dressed in a pink dress is also linked to the swing ride, and she calls this place home. This spirit is often cited and is reported to be that of the ghostly little girl in a pink dress, and the dress is covered in blood, so people, again, believe this to potentially be the girl that was killed on the ride back in the 50s. And according to the park's current owner I forget his name, it comes up later, I'll mention it. According to the current owner, The girl who died had indeed been wearing a pink dress. I don't know how he knows this, but he apparently claims that. Again, though, he is the owner, so maybe he's just sort of trying to stir up the story a bit more. But he has claimed to have seen the ghost himself on several occasions, and he claims that he was unable to move the moment that he locked eyes with her, which is, terrible. Another paranormal, pretty hotspot heavy location, not as significant as the swings, is the Ferris wheel itself. Again, EVPs were taken between the Ferris wheel and the swing ride, but the Ferris wheel in particular has that story of the man who potentially jumped off while riding it. So there are two spirits that are potentially linked to the Ferris wheel. One is the shadowy figure of what people believe to be a man spotted sitting up in one of the carts, and it is more often than not always the cart that faces outwards. If you're looking at the ride from one angle, it would be like the 9 o'clock, and from the other angle it would be 3 o'clock. I don't know the location, so I can't give an actual reference as to which way it's facing, but it's on the midway point, if that gives better context. He's always sitting up there. No one knows who it is or why he's there. He just happens to come there. Worst of all is the fact that another shadowy figure is also reported to be seen with the Ferris wheel. This one is reported to jump off the very top of the rusted, decrepit attraction and fall down to the ground, but vanish moments before he hits the ground. And he's just seen doing this just over and over. I don't know if it's an echo type thing. I don't want to see that either. It's all these things are just so nightmare inducing when it comes to this location. A haunted road, okay, that's scary and stuff, but you're it's a road, so it's not as scary, but there's just so many aspects. It's just oh my god, give me a break. And in my head, I'm just imagining all this stuff happening at once, which is not possible in a lot of ways when it comes to if anyone does paranormal hunting. So the concession stands are also known to be a sort of paranormal hub in a way. This location in particular is haunted by the apparitions of what appears to be, again, Native American spirits, and people think that they are the spirits of the Shawnee people who were either killed, or maybe these are the ancestors who were buried on the location. And these particular spirits, unlike the ones that I mentioned earlier that sort of hide in the darkness, these ones just sort of walk about this location. They just sort of move back and forth when it comes to the concession stands. No one has a real reason as to why they do this or why this specific location. They just do, and people see them. So I don't know why. No one knows why. And lastly, when it comes to hot spots, we have the pond that was mentioned earlier. So again, this pond is notorious for the fact that an 11-year-old boy drowned on the location. Again, though, this is supposedly another deeply haunted location to the park. However, the pond itself has mostly been drained nowadays, and it's basically more or less a pool of mud and water that is used sometimes by catfishers and stuff like that. However, there have often been reports of a shadowy human-like figure which is moving about just below the surface of the murky water. In addition to these strange waves and ripples that sort of happen in the pond that are completely out of place, there's nothing there. People also report that if you enter the water, there are moments in which something will try to pull you under and hold you beneath the water. I didn't expect all this, and apparently others haven't either, because the amusement park is also notorious for being the host of a boatload of paranormal investigative TV shows and themed shows and stuff like that. It has lots of shows from pretty much several channels, including Discovery, ABC, Travel Channel, National Geographic, I think was even there at one point. And some of these shows have their very own experiences that they did not expect while filming. So in 2005, the show Scariest Places on Earth filmed an episode at the park. I believe I have the episode note in my links. So this is, if you want to check it out yourself, Season 3, Episode 8. Again, it's the show Scariest Places on Earth. And while filming, the crew pretty much flat out refused to enter the location after dark. They would film and then leave, and they don't want to go back. And this is mainly due to the fact that they claimed that they heard chanting and drums when no one should be there, and they are the only ones on location. They also complained about the sensation, as mentioned earlier, of being overcome by a sense of gloom and just despair, and everyone was getting depressed. During another show, this one being titled Ghost Lab, this is Season 2, Episode 5, is the one that covers the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. During filming of this particular episode, one of the crew members became trapped inside one of the old ticket booths. Now, you might be saying, like, oh, no, it's run down, it's falling apart. You know, it might make sense as to why he got locked in somehow. Maybe something just latched over. He couldn't get out, and there were no locks. There was nothing holding this door back. He physically could not open it from the inside until someone helped him get it out. Again, though, these last two were from shows, so take this with, like, I guess an extra grain or extra pinch of salt, because again, these are paranormal shows that entire purpose is to get major ratings, and if, you know, your crew's being haunted while filming, then that might help out a little bit. So bear with me. But yeah, so that's actually most of it. I apologize if this weird talking format is a little different. I'm trying to talk more freely and edit a little less and just sort of make this a bit more raw. And this topic, I figured, would be one of the probably best ones to kick it off because, again, like, I have a few that I've been researching, I have a few in the pipeline coming up, and I did not expect to have this much crazy stuff in this particular subject. So I thought it was a good way to start this off, and I want to start recording more in this sort of format of just free-flowing, reading my notes, and just talking. I don't like too much structure when it comes to more creative stuff, despite the fact that I went into graphic design and that has a lot of structure involved into it. I don't want to have that when it comes to my research stuff and when it comes to the history things that I look into, because when it comes to that and when it comes to, like, I guess how I do it, I like to be a bit more fluid. I have had several accounts in which I will look into something and then later on find out that things have changed or something is different. I don't like having that, like, firm structure of, like, this is it, that's it. I just like to be a little more chill with it, so to speak. Just talk freely, have more of a conversation, and just sort of read it off. If things change, things change. If things get disputed, things get disputed, and I will very happily accept that because I don't know where I would fall when it comes to being a skeptic or a believer. I know people are kind of like, oh, you're either or you're one of those, like, in-betweens that say you are, but you're technically just a skeptic. I am open enough to believe the fact that, hey, I don't know. That's, like, the easiest way I can say it. I don't know. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's false. I don't know. I have to only base things off of my own experience and thoroughly in-depth research, which is not as common as you would think when it comes to the paranormal field, despite how long it's been around. But that's how I see it, and that's how I am going to approach it, and that's how I want to keep my podcast structured, because in the end of the day, as much as I love all of you guys, and I love the feedback that you give me, please don't feel bad if it's like a full-on critique. Again, I'm an artist, so I'm used to that sort of stuff. But I will be handling this in my own structure, and it's a little different. But at the same time, different can be fun. So if you still want to stick around through all this rambling and you're somehow still at the end of this episode, feel free to, you know, stick around and continue to support the podcast. Again, you can do so over on Patreon if you want to. Again, there's a $1, $3, and $5 tier list. But again, you don't have to actually do it. You can just hang out in the community, listen to some of the stuff that I post every now and then. I've been trying to be more consistent. Or you can check me out over on Twitter or Instagram at Realm of Unknown. I constantly post new stuff over there as well. A lot of them relate to the episodes, but some are different and some are new. I want to make one quick announcement because I forgot to mention it in the beginning of the episode. Unless I did, and I completely and utterly am losing my mind because a half hour later I completely forgot. I'm going to be starting a special little mini-series for next October. This October, like 3 days from now, by the time of this coming out. I am starting something that beforehand, which is really cheesy, I did over on YouTube, and I called it Month of Myth, which was a series, because I posted on Tuesdays, a series that took up every single day of October. I posted a new video from October 1st to October 31st, and I think I also posted my weekly stuff, so I had like 35 episodes in total in a month, which was insane, and it killed me because of the video editing aspect. But I want to start that back up again because I had a fun time and it was fun to do all that research, and I want to, keep that tradition alive because I did it the first year that I started the channel. The first year I started Realm of Unknown, it was only 4 months after the fact that I did this, spree. And this is the first October that I have had Realm of Unknown as a podcast. I started in December of last year on my birthday, and yeah, so I want to start it back up again. So again, if I haven't mentioned it before in the beginning of the episode, I might even just cut this out and put this there, I don't know. But instead of being called Month of Myth, I'm calling it Fright Month instead, because it's not going to specifically target supernatural and cryptid stuff like I did over on the YouTube channel. I'm going to be, and this month in particular, or I guess this year in particular, is going to have a topic, and each year is going to, when I do it, if I do it, we'll see. We'll see how good this goes. But each year is going to have a specific subject and specific demographic in which I'm going to target. And this year, for Fright Month, I am going to be targeting Philadelphia, because I love Philadelphia and I'm here, so it's easy to do, and it's also really fun with a lot of subjects and locations that I am familiar with and some that I'm not familiar with that I would like to do some research for. Not all of the episodes are going to be long, like 40 to an hour long episodes like my weekly stuff, but they will be quick. They'll be enough. They'll be anywhere from 20 to 40 episodes, 20 to 40 minutes long, and they're going to each have a specific subject and specific location that relates to the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding area that is potentially haunted. I have a full list already. I have several researched at the moment, and I will be recording a few of them in the coming days. So bear with me. It's going to, again, be a bit more raw, but you are going to get 31 episodes of this little mini-series. And afterwards, come November, the weekly just Realm of Unknown type podcast episodes will continue on Saturdays. But this is just a heads up announcement that for October, you are going to get day-to-day announcement episode type stuff. And if you don't want that, turn off notifications for my podcast in particular, because it's going to happen. I kind of want to bolster out my archive of episodes while also targeting a bunch of, fun, interesting locations in the spirit of Halloween. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling, and hopefully this cuts down a little shorter than how long I'm looking at right now. Again, thank you for checking me out and listening to this long rant and interesting research into the Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Again, if you want to check us out and have your own stories, your own stuff, Realm of Unknown at Twitter and Instagram, or at gmail.com. And again, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by either sharing, reviewing on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, or checking out the Patreon of the podcast, and actually helping financially in order to, which I hope in the future to use to bring either to new locations or bring more guests on and do more like interactive stuff for you guys. That's pretty much my main goal when it comes to the Patreon. I want to be able to give you guys more like real-time stuff, more interactive location stuff, more feedback from being at a location, because I think that's where I don't want to say shine, but when I'm able to give my own feedback to a spot that I have personally been to or have experience from, I feel as though is always a stronger episode and a stronger commentary on the location itself. But I'm, again, rambling. I keep saying that because I am. I will be wrapping this up, and I hope to see you guys very soon. If you're listening to this when this comes out in 3 days, again, Fright Month will begin on October 1st, so I will see you guys then. And remember, don't forget to check out the Dead Time Stories podcast, as well as the Twisted Phillies podcast from the promo read earlier in the episode. So check them out. Again, incredible podcast and incredible hosts and just a fun time overall. So I'm going to wrap this up because I am just trailing this along. Thank you guys for checking this out, and I hope to see you guys very soon. But until then, remember to stay spooky.